Hi, Joe here from Shutter Speak Photography. Very nice to see your smiling face again here on YouTube. So, if you are an owner of a Nikon Z9 camera and you have upgraded to firmware 4.0 or better, if you're watching this down the road, you have a feature called auto capture. And auto capture in and of itself is pretty cool. And there is, by the way, some rumors that it could be coming to the Z8, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see about that. But at any rate, auto capture has a tremendous amount of possibility. It is definitely in need of a lot of improvement, especially with the way the menus and the wording all works. It lends itself to be confusing, and it kind of, in my opinion, underperforms a lot of times or overperforms when you don't want it to. So, hey, it's definitely a cool thing to play around with, and it's definitely also a work in progress with the opportunity for Nikon to significantly improve on this in the future and make it something pretty amazing. But hey, let's take a look at the menu options, and I'm going to walk you through demystifying auto capture. Okay, so to get started with auto capture, you're going to need to go to your photo shooting menu, and it's going to be the very last menu option, and select auto capture. And then you will see you have 5 user presets that you can set configurations to. And there is a start button or a start menu item here, which really probably should be labeled launch, not really start, because it actually doesn't start it per se. It just launches the options. So once you are here, you have 6 different items that you can configure to get auto capture working the way that you want it to, or at least the way that you hope it's going to work. Okay, so the first option is capture criteria. And when we select that, we have 3 different available options. We have motion, we have subject detection, and we have distance. Okay, I'm going to select all 3 of these right now so that I can show you how this menu system works. Now, you'll see down at the bottom, this is part of the thing that confuses me. We have the I menu, the I button, which will make us go back. We have OK, which checks the check boxes, and then we have magnifying glass plus, which is also okay, but it's not really okay. It's actually save. So by pressing magnifying glass plus, I am saving those settings. Okay, next we have the advanced motion section, and when we click into here, we have 3 different options, even though 2 are kind of prevalent on the screen and 1 is a little lesser. But so speed, which is in our rear command dial. There it is. So 3, 2, 1, right? So with 5 being about 1 second's worth of motion and 1 being about 5 seconds of motion. Thank you, Nikon. Yes, it certainly would have been easier if 1 was 1 second of motion and 5 was 5 seconds of motion, but it is the opposite. So if I set this to 1, that's 5 seconds of motion. Setting it to 5 is 1 second of motion. 4 would be 2 seconds of motion. 3 is 3 seconds of motion. 2 is 4 seconds. 1 is 5 seconds. So I'm going to set this to 5. And then the next option here is subject size. So this is really dependent on focus points, how many focus points are triggered, with 1 being 4 focus points, 2 being 8, 3 being 14, 4 being 24, and 3 being 34 or larger amounts of focus points triggered. I will caution you that by setting it down to 1 with just 4 focus points triggered, especially in low light itself will trigger the focus point. So I would stay at least a 2 in average room light. Okay, and then you're going to see another option here that you might easily overmiss, and that's the checkerboard or magnifying glass minus, and that's direction. So by selecting that, you see now we have direction relative to the camera, and clicking OK selects and deselects these. Okay, and then when we have this all set up the way we want it, we would press OK plus, which would be save. and then the I button to go back. Okay, so now we are here in subject detection. I'm going to click into that. And again, we have an option for subject size. So let me explain to you what those are. So by rotating the front subcommand dial, we can change subject size. So subject size with setting 1 is about 2.5% of subject size on your screen. 2 is 5%, 3 is 10%, 4 is 15%, and 5 is 20%. So if the subject is smaller than, let's say if you were on 5, smaller than 20% of the screen, it would not be detected. So by setting it to 1, that would be your smallest option, and that would, of course, give you the most triggering options there. Now by pressing magnifying glass minus, we have subject type. And by picking that, we have, of course, auto. We have people, animals, and autos. So we can select whichever one we want. Let's set it to people. And then from there, we don't need to save this for some reason. We can just press I and go back. It's a little confusing. Some places you need to click OK to save, other places you don't. The next is going to be distance. Okay, and from here we can use our front command dial to set a far distance and our rear command dial to set the near distance in meters. We can also use the focus point to set the far distance as well by just focusing on an object. And you see there we have 0.5, obviously pretty close to my object there. So I can change that a little bit and you'll see. Now really at this point, really not much would be in that far point there. Okay, so one of the nice things we can do here is we can automatically set this. We could, of course, set it with the command and subcommand dials, near and far, but we can also set it automatically. So let's say I wanted to set the near distance. I only need to press autofocus on. And you see it sets the near distance as 0.4 meters. And by half pressing the shutter would set the far, which is going to be about the same, 0.5. And you'd see now, of course, obviously this would be way too shallow for any practical use, but it does focus pretty perfectly on our character there. So you can auto set it using those two settings, or you can dial it in manually by using the command and subcommand dial on your camera. Now, no need to save this setting. I button takes you back. Okay, from here we have target area. And now basically what you're going to do here is you use this to block out certain sections that you don't want any motion detection in. And clicking OK, you'll see will block out focus points. Clicking OK on them again will clear them. And of course you can do the magnifying glass minus to select them all and magnifying glass plus to clear them all. And no saving here, just the I menu button to go back. And your last but not least, auto capture settings or your timing options. So from here, we can choose when motion is triggered or one of the conditions are met, distance or subject detection, depending on what you've selected in option number 1. How long do you want the camera to record? And it can be all the way up to 30 minutes. And then you can also, there we go, set a delay from 0 seconds all the way up to 30 minutes as well. And so that's pretty much what that is for. No need to save that either. Just press the I button and you're back. And now at this point, if you have set things the way you want them, you could press the I button, which would be next, and then need to only press record to actually start. You will see though in practicality, the results are not as, well, not always what we would expect. Sometimes it's just not grabbing the things that we would expect it to, at least in my testing anyway. And it can lead to a little bit of frustration, but depending on how you set things up, you can get some good results. Okay, so here's a test of auto capture. I'm using two combinations here, motion and distance combined. So as I get close into the camera, the photos should stop, and when I'm further away, they should be firing off. Now look for the green squares. Every time you see green, those are photos being taken. And now you see it's working here pretty good, and now it should stop as I get in close, and it does, using a combination of motion and distance. And as I walk further away, you see the green squares again as the images get captured. So it works pretty good with those combinations. Okay, so as you saw from that last example, using a combination of motion and distance worked very well. In my findings, using distance alone just ended up taking thousands of frames of essentially nothing. So I would definitely try and couple distance with something else like subject or motion. Okay, again, the manual itself really doesn't indicate if distance needs to be coupled with something else, and it certainly can be selected on its own, but I would caution you with that. So that being said, though, you can get really great results, but test, 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 and retest so you don't end up with a full memory card of pictures that you never intended to take and never actually capture your subject. So, hey, listen, I hope that this video going through these settings has helped you out. If anything in this video has helped you out, please help me out by hitting like, subscribe, and of course, ring the bell so you get notified of future updates. Drop me a comment and let me know how you intend to use auto capture. And until I see you on the next video, thanks for watching. I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.